Hey everyone, welcome back after winter break. It has been quite a Monday for me so far. This is actually the second time that I'm recording this lesson. If you're in my homeroom, just to catch you up on what happened this morning, when I joined the Google Meet with Miss Hines' homeroom, no one could hear me or see me, and I couldn't hear or see anyone else. So I'm trying to just record this lesson in the hopes that that will work for today, and then we can do a live lesson for the next one. But just so you know that this lesson is really important for you to watch, because all of the next 4 maybe lessons after this one are following the same format, and I won't be talking you through how to do it for the next few ones. So just watch this one so that you know what to do in the next one, and that will make our next few lessons pretty quick in reading. Also, just before I forget, tomorrow and Thursday, you have iReady testing for reading. So you will want to make sure you eat a big breakfast and come ready to do your best. So we won't actually have another reading lesson until Friday. But when we left off before winter break, you had created your ebook. So we went through and you made a table of contents and you figured out which slides you needed to have in that slideshow. And today we're going to work on drafting RQ number 1, 2, and 3. Like I said, we don't have another reading lesson until Friday. So if you want to work on this until Friday, you can. You just need to have them finished by Friday. So you have today, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to work on this. I know it's 3 and that's a lot, but you've got a while to do it. And once you do the first one, you should be good to go. And also, you already have the information you need for it, so that should make your life a lot easier as well. So the first thing that you need when you are creating a draft for this ebook is your topic sentence. So main idea, we've learned about it, but you can take the main idea of your section and turn that into your topic sentence. So to do that, you will read over your final project organizer notes to decide what the main idea is for each section. So for RQ number 1, that research question topic was about key characteristics of your ecosystem. So for example, if you were studying all of the ecosystems, which you're not, but if you were, your main idea might be something like, every ecosystem has some key characteristics. It's a very basic sentence, your main idea. It's not getting into all of those details, it's just telling you that they exist. And so, for example, if you were studying the desert ecosystem, for the RQ number 1 section, your topic sentence, the first, maybe second sentence in your paragraph might be something like, there are many key characteristics to make the desert a desert. Very basic. That's your topic sentence. That's your main idea of that section. Your key details are what would come next. So for your key details, you need to think about which information that I collected in my research shows that. What are some examples of whatever that topic sentence was that I wrote? So if I wrote, there are, what was it? There are many key characteristics that make the desert a desert, then my key details are going to be 3 of those key characteristics that make a desert a desert. And so you'll want to think, when you're doing your key details, you'll want to think about the text structure that will be best to communicate your ideas. For RQ number 1, where you're just talking about key characteristics that make your ecosystem what it is, you'll probably want to use the description text structure. But for later ones, for example, key characteristic, not key characteristics, for the food chain section, you might want to write with a text structure in the chronological order format, because you're talking about a plant that's then eaten by a primary consumer, that's then eaten by a secondary consumer. And so when you figure out which text structure you want to use, you'll then use some of those signal words we talked about, because they're not only words to help you identify the text structure, they're words to help you write in that text structure. So for a description text structure, you might use words like example, such as. And if you want a review of the different text structures, you can look back at the lessons we've had You can click this link, which will take you to a video on a later slide to review all of them. You also can go onto the 5th grade website, and under literacy, there's an entire page for text structure that has resources for you to use. So you're also going to work today on, hello. This is that video to review if you want to use it. But you're also going to be thinking about vocabulary. By the way, this is a check-in that Sadie Wright made, but we're going to save it till we actually have class so it gets the attention it deserves. But you're going to want to think about vocabulary as well, because you're going to be required to include some technical vocabulary in each of your sections. Just as a recap, Tier 1, everyday vocabulary, those are the words that you use all the time in conversation. You're familiar with them. Pretty much everyone is familiar with them if they speak that language. Your Tier 2 or academic vocabulary words are words that you might not use every day in speaking, but you see them a lot in literature, in books that you're reading. You start encountering a lot of academic vocabulary words at the level white in the ERLA system. And every time you move up a level from white, you get more and more academic vocabulary words. But what we're focusing on today is the Tier 3 technical vocabulary category. And in that Tier 3 or technical vocabulary category, those are words that are about one specific topic or one specific content area, like words that you would only use if you have a job in a certain area, for example. Authors use these words to demonstrate expertise, to prove that they know what they're talking about, and to improve clarity, because sometimes these words really show the difference between tiny little details that are important to understand that topic. And they also convince readers to trust that author. So you are going to need to use technical vocabulary terms so that we believe what you're saying about your ecosystem. So in this unit, we've been using a lot of technical vocabulary words in the ecology field. So words that you only really use if you're talking about ecology-related things. Words like biome, ecosystem, consumer, producer, decomposer. Those are all technical vocabulary words that you should use in your writing. But you also will want to use some that are specific to your ecosystem. For example, names for the different levels of the ocean or the different levels of the rainforest. And just to kind of, again, recap, a synonym is a word that has the same meaning as another word, or at least a similar meaning. So we've got the word little here. A synonym for little could be small, miniature, tiny, minuscule. Those all mean small, or they all mean little. They might mean little on different levels, but they all generally mean little. Fast, we've got synonyms speedy, quick. The synonyms for said could include announced, declared, yelled, complained, whispered, asked. Those are all synonyms of the word said. And they don't all mean exactly the same thing. They have slight differences. For example, yelled doesn't mean the same thing as whispered, but they're both synonyms of said. But those synonyms help, like we were saying about technical vocabulary words, they help clarify to readers exactly what you mean. And so that's what you'll be wanting to do with your technical vocabulary words too. For example, if you're talking about the key characteristics of the desert, you won't want to just say, this area is warm. Instead, you want to say, the desert ecosystem, instead of area, has a warm climate or a cold climate or whatever it is for your ecosystem. So that way we have the technical term climate. We also have ecosystem and desert, 3 in one sentence to really help the reader understand what you're trying to say better. We have a sentence here. I was so fatigued at the end of a long day. When I got home, I went straight to bed. Fatigued is one of those Tier 2 academic vocabulary words, but we could replace it with a synonym from Tier 1. I was so tired at the end of a long day. I was exhausted. I got when I got home, then I went straight to bed. You'll want to do the same thing, but you'll want to replace words with those tier 3 vocabulary words to show that you know what you're talking about. Ooh, an I isn't capitalized. I need to fix that. All right, so for your independent work today, and this is actually for RQ number 1 through 3, because we didn't finish 1 before break, you're going to write the main idea of each of those RQs. So you'll go to the slide in your ebook for RQ1, and you'll write the main idea. You'll do the same thing on the slide for RQ2 and then for RQ3. So that topic sentence, what's the information that we're learning in this section? For key details, that will come next for each of those 3 sections. What are those details to support your main idea? For example, remember if your topic sentence says, there are key characteristics that make a desert what it is. Your key details should be 3 of those characteristics, and you should have at least 3 key details for each section. If you want more, you absolutely can have more, but you're required to have at least 3. And then for vocabulary for each RQ, 1, 2, and 3, which tier 2 or 3, but especially which tier 3 words can you use to prove that you are an expert on this topic? There's some things to edit for as well. You want to check to make sure that each sentence begins with a capital letter and ends with a period, a question mark, an exclamation mark, some sort of punctuation to show that's the end of a sentence. Titles should be in italics. Those are these slanty letters. And in order to get italics, let's say I want to put this word into italics. Maybe this is a title. You're going to come up and so you've got your font, your size, bold, and then this slanty I button up here is italics. If you hover over it, it says italics. If you highlight your word or your title and you click that I, it will highlight in yellow and your words will get slanty. And then they're in italics. If you want to replace them with regular letters, you just click it again. We haven't yet talked about the difference between underlined titles and titles in quotation marks. So for now, we're just going to put them in italics. Each new paragraph should be indented. That's where you have, let me find an example. You have a paragraph, and at the beginning, it's stuck in a little bit into the rest of the text. That's an indentation. And to get it on your keyboard, you're going to click the button that says Tab. It's the button right next to, right before the letter Q. It's right before all the letters start because that's where your indentation goes. So you'll just click that once, and it will shift your letters over and you type, and then it will bring it back to normal when you get to the next line. Your key details should be used effectively. You want to make sure that the key details you're putting in there are actually important details. If your topic sentence is that there are many key characteristics that make a desert, you want to make sure that your key details are different characteristics, that they're not something random like, fun fact, there is an animal in the desert that eats 500 lizards a day. Okay, that wouldn't be a characteristic, a key characteristic of a desert. It might be something that's true, but you want to make sure your key details really back up that topic sentence. And lastly, you'll want to make sure that you're including some of those linking words, transition words, signal words that go along with each text structure. And again, you can review them by clicking on that slide in this lesson, or going to our 5th grade website, or looking back at some previous lessons we've done on the text structures. And lastly, you'll just need to read for 60 minutes and log your 4 steps. Now, this is kind of a lot because it's RQ1, 2, and 3. But again, you have until Friday to have this done. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you on our first day back, but hopefully I'll get to see you in reading groups later, or if not in reading groups, then tomorrow. All right, bye everyone. Have a great rest of your day.